Now, as soon as you say to a person as their boss that you have feedback for them, what immediately happens 99 out of 100 times is the person starts fearing for their job, right? There is an instinctive reaction in every human being where as soon as their boss has feedback for them, they have this insecurity and lack of safety, right? And when that happens, their brain shuts off and goes into animal mode, reptile mode, whatever, and they stop focusing on what you actually have to say and get very defensive instinctively. And so the first thing you want to do once you state that this is about feedback is you want to. Hey everyone. So, how do you give employees tough feedback as their boss? Now, this is a topic that deserves a special discussion because a lot of entrepreneurs do this wrong. It's not something that people are naturally good at. It is a learned skill and it often backfires. I have learned this the hard way after many mistakes. What you want from a conversation like this as an entrepreneur, as a boss, is you want them to walk away in agreement with you and with sympathy for how you feel and a dedication to improving, right? And what happens instead is when you do it the wrong way, people start to distrust you. They start talking to other employees. They're like, oh, this guy was an asshole. I didn't deserve this. It was unfair. They argue with you. Sometimes they go fucking crazy. They sue you if you're in America, right? I have a friend who literally lost his business to an employee lawsuit. I don't know the inside story, but he probably did a few things the wrong way. They start doubting your competence. I don't think he knows what he's doing, or he knows, or she knows what she's saying. Employees can be, like children sometimes, right? So if you give them the wrong signals, they can revolt or they can implode and get trauma, right? So here's how you do it. The first step is to grow some balls, all right? And the reason I say that is I don't want you to delay having that conversation. Okay, never delay tough conversations with people, both in your private and your personal life, both in your private and your professional life. All right, especially in your professional lives. I don't care about your private life, right? What you don't want to do is to dilly-dally around this, right? Now, step two is to get clear in your fucking head what you actually want, right? A lot of times, as managers, as bosses, we have a lot of things going on, and if a person is not performing the right way, sometimes we just know that they're not doing the right things. We are just dissatisfied, but we don't know exactly why we are dissatisfied with them, right? We know what we don't want, but we don't necessarily have a clear idea of what we do want from them. So when you have a conversation with them, if you give them just complaints, don't be like this and don't be like that and stop doing this and stop doing that, then you're basically a fucking complainer, right? Instead, what you want is to tell them what do you want them to do? How can they change? How can they improve to actually make you happy, right? If there is no way for them to make you happy, then that's a different discussion where we talk about, letting people go. If you don't know what you want, I can bet you the employee will definitely not read your mind and figure out what you want, right? They're just going to walk away with the feeling of, my boss just doesn't like me. My company doesn't like me. I don't want to be here. I want to change my team. I want to change my company, right? Whatever. Very much related to that, the previous point is once you get clear on what the problem is, be honest with yourself. Like, is this something that this person can actually solve? Do you still want them in your company or would you rather have them gone? Right? And I understand this is now what I'm going to say next will be very controversial, but there's a quote by Brian Tracy who once said that the best time to fire someone is the first time it crosses your mind, right? And I used to disagree with that statement for many years until, I myself became a boss, and after so many, trials and tribulations, I have come to completely agree with what he said, even though most people will have a jerk reaction like, oh, well, no, no, that's wrong. You can't just fire people as soon as you think of firing them. But the essence of what he said is when a person is just doing a few things wrong and you want them to improve, then the thought of firing them will be alien to you. You will have a knee-jerk reaction like, "Whoa, no, I'm not gonna fire them. I don't want them gone. I just want them to change a few things, right?" But once a person crosses that boundary of frustration, right, where no matter what they do, you just have a fundamental problem. Subconsciously, you've fundamentally given up hope on this person, and you would rather not have them in the company because they cause more problem and more pain and less progress than if they just weren't there and somebody else was doing what they were doing, right? And by the time a person crosses that boundary in your mind, a lot has actually happened already. And so it's usually the point of no return. Like they will never, unless something really drastic happens, which almost never happens, they will almost never regain your respect. And if you keep them on and try to give them feedback where there's really no feedback that could actually help them or help you be happy with them, then you're basically just gonna become more and more aggressive and nitpicking towards them, and they are going to start hating their life and hating their job, right? And if that's the kind of company you want to build where you are constantly negative towards people and you give them negative feedback more often than you give them positive feedback, then you do you, fuck you, and fuck the company you're trying to build. But I want a company to be a positive place for the people who work there, and so I don't advocate for keeping people on if you don't believe in them, right? That's just my style as an entrepreneur. Moving on. Now, if you do want to fire them, there are ways to do that very respectfully and nicely, all right? Unfortunately, outside the scope of this video, so we for now will focus on the situation where, let's say you do decide to give them feedback, you do want them in the company, and you are clear about what you want from them. Now, here's how to actually have that conversation, all right? This is important. Number one, once you get in a meeting with them, be direct and tell them straight up that you have feedback for them. Okay, don't beat around the bush. Start with stating like, "Hey, Janet or Jonathan, whatever. I have some feedback for you, and that's why we are having this meeting." Right? Say some version of these words. Now, as soon as you say that to a person, as their boss, that you have feedback for them, what immediately happens 99 out of 100 times is the person starts fearing for their job, right? There is an instinctive reaction in every human being where as soon as their boss has feedback for them, they have this insecurity and lack of safety, right? And when that happens, their brain shuts off and goes into animal mode, reptile mode, whatever, and they stop focusing on what you actually have to say and get very defensive, right? Instinctively. And so the first thing you want to do once you state that this is about feedback is you want to compliment them and tell them that their job is secure, right? How do you tell them? You say things like, first of all, I just want to start with saying that we love having you in the company. I love having you on the team. I love you. You know, um, I want to keep seeing you grow. I'm really happy with this and this and that. What you did here, I have a lot of respect for the way you do these things. Shower them with compliments. Reassure them that you see a future for them in the company, a bright future, right? And then you say, now I have some feedback for you as well. And then, you know, by the time you do that, and now by the time you finish and you get to the feedback, this person is now relaxed, right? They are happy, they're much more receptive to the actual feedback you have for them, right? And they are now excited to become even better in your eyes because you love them so much, right? So here's how you approach that. Here's a framework for how you communicate with clarity what you want them to do, right? It goes something like this. When you do XYZ, I feel ABC, and I want you to instead do GHI, whatever, right? So, or it could be like, when you do this, what happens, or the consequence is usually this, and we would like you to do this instead. Okay? It's a very simple framework, but really powerful. And here's why. You have communicated to them exactly the behavior or the things that they did or do, and the consequence, the gravity of the situation, why it's important that they stop doing that. And you've also shifted the conversation to the future where you've told them exactly what they can do to improve, right? They have a clear plan, they have a clear direction, or at least they have some semblance of a direction of and confidence that you can be made happy. You're not an endlessly, dissatisfied jerk, right? They can make you happy, they can become better, and now they can see themselves performing better and being more of a rock star in the company. So that's what you want, right? You want people to walk away with positivity, with confidence, right? So now, once you do that, usually, the rest will happen effortlessly, right? You're a smart person, you'll just handle it. Now, if it goes south and maybe they start arguing with you or it just doesn't go as you planned, right? Then there are two possible reasons. One is that you did something wrong, right? Like you did not communicate clearly, you weren't clear on what you really wanted. Or two, that person has a real problem and they need to be let go, right? And I'm not saying that, you're probably right, but even if you're wrong, your relationship with that employee has gone to a point where that person doesn't trust you and they need to go regardless. One of you needs to go, and being the boss, being the founder, you can't leave the company, so it's probably the employee who has to part ways with you, and it could be unfortunate for them, but whatever happens, you need to split, right? But ideally, it will not go that way, and you will have a happy, more motivated, more driven employee who also has more respect for you and more trust in you that you want them to do better. So, again, be clear what you want, don't delay such tough conversations, communicate with clarity as well, reassure them that their job is safe, and if they are arguing with you or if it goes really south despite you making your best efforts, then think about the next step, which is to let that person go. And we can talk about that in a future video, not this one. So try that, and I will see you in the next video. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, do check out my book, Fluent CEO. There are some free chapters in the description. Hope you enjoy it and have a nice day.